500 Doors, your real estate podcast. Speaking with industry experts in real estate buying, selling, planning, developing, wholesaling, investing, financing, and management. If it's real estate, we're talking about it. I'm your host, Kim Hayden, an award-winning 6- and 7-figure real estate agent with over 2 decades of experience. Understanding real estate is a dream for many, that we, real estate professionals, have the ability to bring that dream to reality while building better communities and being the change we want to see. Good morning, good morning, good morning. It's been one of those days already where I am still working on discovering all the ins and outs of making sure that the technology and messaging moving. Glenn's going to join us in a moment, folks, but I thought we'd go ahead and kick off this morning and give you a little insight as to who our guest is. And he's going to be so live. I've given him no prep. But this man of all men can actually handle it. So first of all, welcome to the 500 Doors podcast, where we focus on social responsibility in obtainable and sustainable strategies that serve our community and clients alike. This show spotlights industry experts in buying, selling, planning, developing, investing, management, plus all the new opportunities that are coming at us daily. So our guest today, I'm going to bring him in just one moment, is somebody that I had discovered and started following back in my clubhouse days. And this is a guest that is truly in leadership, sales, and knows how to curate personal branding. And this is why I want him to be here to talk with us today. So Glenn Lundy is a husband to one, a father of 8. Glenn is also the host of the wildly popular Facebook Live show, Rise and Grind, the GM3X podcast, and he is a top clubhouse group called the Breakfast of Champions, which I thought was such a great name. Okay, Glenn has been seen in places like Hustle and Grind Con. He's also been at the Grow Your Business for God's Sake and many more stages across the country. Glenn has been spotlighted on ABC, NBC, CBS, and is an expert in dealership, culture development, and leadership training. With 20 years experience in the automotive industry, Glenn led a dealership from, get this, 120 cars a month to 800% increase in sales in 5 years, becoming the second largest car franchise in the United States. His unique style makes him one of the most coveted GMs in business. Glenn has a unique ability to help identify the areas for growth in your store and teach creative ways to invoke your dealership's spirit. With a background in sales and finance, he uses his skill sets to create growth, as well as tapping into the mental side of human development. So, you know what? Give it up to Glenn here. Glenn, welcome to the show.
Hi, Kim. How are you?
I am awesome. So, are you in a hotel room today? Are you off and running? What are you doing?
I'm at home.
You're at home. Oh, beautiful.
This is our bedroom. The bed's not made right now. Don't get mad.
Okay.
Don't get mad.
That's okay. And I love the grays and the whites. That's I have a lot of that in my home. I love that.
But yeah, I'm home today. We've been doing some work here at the house. My wife and I run our business together, and during this time of year, we sell these planners. We sell thousands and thousands of planners all around the world, and so it's a lot of packaging, it's a lot of signing, it's a lot of the whole family gets involved. My 13-year-old, she's DMing people right now, like it's all of that. And so today I'm not in office, I'm working from here.
That is awesome. I know the last time we talked, you were in a hotel room with one of your daughters. So
That's
you were
right.
down in Florida in Disney World. So basically, I'm going to bring Glenn up. So you're going to know the back end of my run a show here. We're going to go through the who, the what, then what Glenn's definition of community is. We're going to then talk about his book. We're going to go into how you can follow him and track him. And then he's going to close the show out. You got that, Glenn? That's how we're going to run the show today. How's that sound? Awesome. Okay, let's start with who you are. I gave a little bit of a highlight reel, but I mean, it can't even embody everything that you are and where you come from.
Oh well, I'm a husband first, that's for sure. My wife is my everything. I'm a father second. Actually, just one of my kids just popped in and out. Um, I've got eight beautiful babies, a 23-year-old, and I've got a 13-year-old and a 10-year-old and an 8-year-old and a 7-year-old and a 5-year-old and a 4-year-old and a 2-year-old. So I love that. But at my core, really, I feel as though, God put me on this planet to bring people together, to equip them with the tools that they need to succeed, and to inspire them to be the best versions of themselves that they can possibly be. So those three sentences kind of really make up who I am and embodies everything that we do.
And you're a public speaker, so you're quite eloquent as to how you bring all this together. So you can create words for others in the sense that it models good language, it models good behavior. Um,
Thank you.
Absolutely. I had a whole morning of Glenn, so making sure I'm brushed up and ready to go because ready. Um, so, folks, the reason why I wanted Glenn, who is in the automotive industry, to come on to a real estate show, I will tell you why. Because leadership and sales and service are unanimously across all fronts. However, there's some really unique correlations between automotive and real estate. Automotive is the second highest priced purchase people will typically make in their life cycle. 71% of car buyers purchase from a dealership less than 20 miles from their home.
Right.
So working in your backyard, folks, just like real estate agents. Top real estate agents work from their backyard. And get this, from the initial research to the completing of a purchase, a car buyer will spend on average 96 days in the car buying process. So it's not an immediate overnight, I'm going to go drop this 40, 50, $60,000. They're going to shop two and a half, on average, two and a half different dealerships with all the different people within it before they make a decision. So does this not all sound very familiar within real estate? So what I wanted to dive in a little bit on what you do on the leadership side of turning around these dealerships and getting their sales up, because the principles are going to be very, very universsul from automotive to real estate. Can you walk us through a little bit of what you do, how you get it turned around, and then I'm gonna put your feet to the fire here. Can you give us one actionable step that people could do today to give them a 1%, 1 degree shift?
Yeah, we can actually do better than that, and we can do it
Oh,
all. We can do it all in one answer, really. So, well, two answers. We'll break down two principles, and like you said, the principles are the same across the board, right? The methods that we use, the strategies that we use might be different, but principles never change. And ultimately, the most important principle that all people need to know and understand, whether it be in building a relationship with your kids, building a relationship with your spouse, or building a relationship with a potential client, is that people want to feel seen, heard, and significant. As simple as that. People want to feel seen, heard, and significant. And so we have to tailor our methods to make sure that whether it's a customer, whether it's a child, whether it's a spouse, whether it's a parent, we want to make sure that we tailor our methods to that particular person so that they feel those three things: seen, heard, and significant. And so, one of the things that I teach right away when I get an opportunity to work with leaders in any organization is I teach them the LEAD acronym, which the LEAD acronym, everything in my life is very simple. It's all processes, right? It's very, very, very simple. I'm a simple person. And so we teach the LEAD process to ultimately help leaders make sure the people around them and their potential clients feel seen, heard, and significant. And the way the LEAD process works is simple. It's an acronym: LEADD, LEADD. And I know some of you right now might be thinking, This guy sounded smart a minute ago, but he just spelled lead with two D's. But I'll explain that here in just a second. The L in lead stands for listen. We have to take the time to listen twice as much as we speak. Your mother should have told you this when you were young: 2 ears, one mouth. So we listen twice as much as we speak, whether that be with an employee, an employer, a potential client, our children, our spouses. If we listen twice as much as we speak, we get much better results. The E in lead stands for encourage. Now, we always want to find the good in whoever it is that we're communicating with, whether that be something that we can say nice about the way that they look or their hair or so the clothes that they wear or the way that they speak. My friend here, she just said right at the beginning, she said that I speak very eloquently. I appreciate that, right? We can encourage people. Now, here's what really happens. Here's the magic is when we listen with the intent to encourage, it's different than listening with the intent to object or listening with the intent to interject as soon as somebody stops talking. We actually have to listen and absorb who that person is so that we can find an area to encourage. So we listen first, we encourage second. That takes us to the A in lead. The A in lead stands for advise. Now, this is where most managers start. Most managers want to advise people on what to do. Here's what you need to do. Here's what you need to stop doing. Now get out there and kick some tail, right? Like that's how most managers manage. And that's why the results are not very effective. You see, if we listen to people first and we encourage them second, we've now earned the right to advise. And I'm sure you've experienced this in your life where someone who's listened to you in the past, who's encouraged you in the past, when they come to you with some sort of advice, you typically listen to it. Whereas if someone just throws something at you online, well, here's some advice, you should do this. You're like, you don't know me and I don't know you. So I ain't listening to anything that you have to say. So listening and then encouraging gives you the opportunity to advise, whether that be advise a client on what house they should be looking at, advise a potential customer on what car they should be buying, advise our children on a chore that we need done or a direction that we need them to go in, a behavior that we need to resolve, advise our wife or our spouse, our husbands, our relationships, our boyfriends and girlfriends, advise them on the things that we need in our existence in order to feel seen, heard, and significant. But we have to earn that right. So we listen, we encourage, we advise, and then we develop. The D in lead stands for develop. Please do not ever tell someone what to do without taking the time to show them how to do it. You see it again, another manager mistake. A lot of managers tell people what to do, but they don't take the time to really develop that and make sure that there's a full understanding of what needs to be done in order to drive the result. So I teach as soon as I go in and work with leaders. Very first thing we teach is the lead acronym and the lead process. Listen, encourage, advise, and develop. And the last D stands for daily. This needs to be done daily. When you're about to pick up a call for a prospect, I want you to think about listen, encourage, advise, and develop. When you're getting ready to have a serious conversation with a child or with a parent, I want you to listen, encourage, advise, and develop. So if you can do that daily, it makes a massive impact on the overall results because now the client, the child, the prospect, they all feel seen, heard, and significant when you follow that process.
And you know what? I love that you say that because I've always said seen, heard, and valued. That's
Hmm.
always been my whole thing. And what literally, without having an Instagram account or doing anything, my husband and I were the top 1% in
Amazing.
real estate, and I did it literally by handing out candy at the Halloween event at the community association, or volunteering to help in a community craft and trade fair. Just
Hmm.
being present, listening to people. Uh,
And
Lee,
what you did while you were present. So it wasn't about handing out the candy. It wasn't about being, the particular event. It had nothing to do with that. There are other people that could go hand out candy and they could go to the event and they would not get the same results as you. So the method doesn't matter. It's the principles. While you were handing out candy, you made people feel seen, heard, and significant. While you were at the event, you made people feel seen, heard, and significant. You didn't go in there handing out your business card saying, buy a house from me. You didn't do any of
Oh
that.
no, yeah.
Instead, you listened to people, you encouraged people, right? And ultimately, you were able to build that. And so I think sometimes a lot of people get caught up in the schematics of the process of what we're doing, not necessarily the intention
Yeah,
that needs to be behind it in order to make it work.
absolutely. It is. I heard a term called commission breath. And we get so those of us who live in and the world really should not be feast or famine. You get your systems down, you will have a consistent revenue, and if you know where your spheres are in real estate, everybody relies on, they come in and they rely on two things typically. This is what all the brokerages are teaching because it is the simplest thing to do. Call your friends and family and give Zillow money. Whereas I don't believe either one of those are how you build a profitable business, right?
Right, right.
Um, but I love this lead because I did get a text actually on WhatsApp shortly before our call, and it was one of my agents out in Toronto that was asking, can we today work on some of the challenges around the rising interest rates and people's fear? And it's like, great,
Sure.
let's make some graphs around this. Let's talk about this. Let's create the script. But actually, the script is within lead. So we listen to people's fear. We're going to
Right,
encourage them that it's still safe to buy a property.
right.
We're going to advise them as to the strategies and understanding what the interest rates where they're at represent.
Yep.
We're going to develop that rapport and that advice so they can understand it. I can shove these stats at people. I love stats. I'm a stats junkie. But I can stuff stats at people. But if they don't understand the foundation, because they don't have 26 years in their head of my experience. I'm pulling
Right.
this from my experience, right?
That's
And
right.
then just remember to lead every day with the same thing. Listen to, acknowledge. Most people just want to be acknowledged. I'm afraid. This world is crazy.
Right.
Wow, that car's expensive. Oh my gosh, it's 7% for interest. For me, go up and say, that's nothing. I remember 12% interest. That doesn't solve the situation.
Nope. Nope.
That
Sure
doesn't
doesn't.
solve the situation. I love that. I love that. This
And
is
I love
why,
that word, like I agree, right? Man, those
absolutely.
these interest rates are high. They're so high right now. I agree. Kim, I agree with you. Wow. They've been so low for so long. Man, these suckers are high. Now let's continue
Exactly.
on with the conversation.
Absolutely.
Let's just keep going. Like it's okay to agree.
Absolutely. I have no control over interest rates. I have no control over the economy. I have no control over, whether or not the developers build another 300 houses in Calgary or a condo building. I don't have control over that. What I have control over is how I share the information, the insight, and the support
Yeah.
to people.
I,
We just got an email from a gal, and this is when you know you're doing the right thing by people. We got an email from a gal that we sold her home 2 years ago.
mm,
2 years ago. And we ask all of our clients for a referral or testimonial or something, right? And this gal said, I'm not in a position to do this at this time. We got it 2 years later. And she said, thank you for being patient
mm,
and helping me with all your hard work. So I go hip to hip with people. I stage with them. I share with them what the buyer is going to see and how we can remedy it or create a strategy around it. But she had been in a very difficult position personally. And for me to go and ask her and hound her, da 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 da. But she came back 2 years later because we did such a good job. She goes, I wanted to give you this testimonial now. Now the funny part is we already sold that house again.
right.
So we got the next homeowner's test. But the reality is she didn't forget about us. People, I
That's
think
right.
a lot of us who are in sales, we're looking at our sheets. Oh my God, what do I have to do today? And so forth and so on. And we forget that there's a whole other conversation going on.
No doubt.
Um, I want to talk a little bit. One of the things we don't do is slow down and breathe. Right? We're always running deal to deal to deal to deal. And I would love for you to walk us through. You just implemented every 7 weeks you take a week off, and you just went through your first cycle of that. Am I
Yeah.
correct?
Yeah,
Okay.
that's correct.
I want you to share with us, especially with going into the holiday season, gearing up in the new year. A lot of people in real estate have all their fees they're coming up with. They're trying to build their business plan for next year. They're doing all of this. It can be a very overwhelming time for a lot of people.
Sure.
Can you walk us through a little bit of what brought you to that decision, how you made that decision, how you implemented that decision, and what's been your takeaway after walking through the very first week of implementing 7 weeks off a year for your company to breathe, for you to breathe, for your staff to breathe? What came up to all that?
Yeah, and that really is the key, right? It's not just me taking 7 weeks off a year. It's a complete company-wide shutdown. We turn everything off. Ads get turned off, no leads coming in. It's not work from home week. It is the company is completely turned off for 7 days. We don't um, answer client calls. We don't respond to emails. Like it's a complete guilt-free separation. Because I've talked to a lot of people since we implemented it, and they're like, well, maybe I could do this and we could give these people 7 days off, and then these people. I'm like, no, you don't understand. The context behind it is guilt-free, shame-free, worry-free time off. It's not being a burden to someone else or coming back to a big old backlog of work. Um, the way that it came was I was sitting in church, and I had been doing a study. I'd been doing a Bible study recently, and I noticed this pattern. Now, I'm whether you're a religious person or not a religious person, I study successful humans, and I see Jesus as statistically the most successful human in the history of the world. The
Yeah.
one dude created a movement that has impacted billions of people's lives for thousands of years. And the books written about him are the best selling books of all time, with 1.6 billion copies in distribution in every language and country you can think of. So to me, that's pretty successful. And
Yep.
so when I study success, I study Jesus, and I noticed that he would go and speak for 3 straight days to thousands of people, right? He would go share his message, he would pour into them, and immediately after, he would go hang out in the woods for 40 days. Or he would, everybody else is on the boat, Jesus is out walking around on the water. Like he was always separating himself in between to recharge so that he could give everything he had in those moments when he had the opportunity to make an impact in other people's lives. And so I had been studying that, and then my pastor did a sermon kind of along the same lines, and right there in the middle of church, I just call it God's voice, call it whatever you want to call it, all of a sudden I heard, I want you to shut down your company every 7th week and pay all your people. I'm the rise and grind guy. I wake up at 3:20 a.m. every day. I do a morning show. I'm like, rise and grind, go get it, go get it. You only have so many days left. Come on. Like, so I knew in that instant that was not a thought. Like that wasn't for me, because that's not how I think. That's not, I've never operated like that. I've actually been quite the advocate against that. And so when those words came, it was kind of like, what? Okay, I'll explore this. Let me study this, because this doesn't make any sense. So when I sat down and I started to really look at it, Kim, well, the first question was like, what would I have to do to be able to do that? And I looked at the structure of my company. And luckily for me, I had a mentor of mine 4 years ago when I started my company. And she said, Glenn, I want you to get very clear on your core values, which I did. And then she said, I want you to build a business around your life. Do not build a life around your business. And she gave me that advice very early on. And so when I looked at the structure of my company, I was like, wow, we could potentially shut down for a week because everything we do is virtual for the most part. We do very little on site. We don't have customers coming through the doors. We don't have like a retail establishment. So there was none of those barriers. So I was like, first, maybe we could. Then it was, well, should we? So then I started looking at all the pros and cons, right? Obviously, there's some negatives. There's revenue, that could come that week potentially. Shutting down ads that are effectively working is always a big no-no in the paid marketing side, right? Like, don't touch it, don't turn it off. It's actually working, right? So there was there was that, but then I started looking at the pros, and on the positive side, from a recruiting aspect, I can recruit the top talent in the world when I let them know they get 7 paid weeks off a year, right? Right out the gate, day 1. From the day you start working at my company, you're gonna get 7 weeks off a year. Most companies, you gotta work there 10 years to get 3 weeks off, right? So from a recruiting standpoint, it was great. Then I started thinking about the bonds that my people could actually build. So we all work great together, but we could never spend time together outside of the work. Because if Kim's off, Glenn's at work. If Glenn's off, Kim's at work. Well, this way my people can actually vacation together. They can experience, they can do life together outside of work, which creates stronger bonds, which helps with retention of employees. Then I started thinking, well, if we do that, that breaks the year into 7 6-week sprints. And Kim, I don't know how you do with
Ooh.
deadlines, but me and my people, we do great with deadlines. So you see major companies will have 4 quarters, right? Q1, Q2, Q3, Q4. And they're always running to hit certain markers and measurements, and they're doing the reporting for the stock market and so on and so forth. Well, if one company has 4 sprints a year, how much faster can we go with 7 sprints a year? So now we have Q1, Q2, Q3, Q4, Q5, Q6, and Q7. And my team knows and understands that there's deadlines for us to go into that Sabbath week. Things have to be complete. It's got to be done. The project has to be, it can't be in limbo because we're going to be completely shut down for a week. So it creates urgency in the 6 weeks and gives us 7 periods a year instead of 4, which I feel gives us an advantage. So I started looking at all that and I'm like, this actually kind of makes sense, Kim. I think we could actually be more productive. My people will be more rested. They will love the company more. They can build an incredible culture. And if we can get it done in 52 weeks a year, it is 2022. So why can't we get it done in 45 weeks a year? Technology has speeded up.
Yeah.
It's accelerated everything. Why do we still need 52 weeks a year to be effective? So we put it in place, and like I did that research. Oh, this was the last piece, Kim. So then once I looked at that, I went on Google and I looked up companies that shut down every 7th week and pay all of their people, and guess how many I found?
I'm going to guess 0 because it's the first I've ever heard.
I
0.
0. And as soon as I saw it was 0, I knew that we had to do it. Because I'm a big
Yeah.
fan of Blue Ocean Strategy, and I don't know if you've ever read that book. It's it talks about being not competing. Don't compete with the market. Go out and create your own market. And so
Yep.
when I saw there's not another company in the world doing it, I went, "Yep, we're going to be the first." And we've had 1 week off. We're running into another week off here at the end of the year, so everybody's sprinting right now to make sure that we're positioned to be able to spend from Christmas Day through New Year's. Everyone will have that entire week off, and so far it's been incredible.
Okay, so the reason I asked you all of this is I want to get into this how you prepare because I know for myself, I typically write everything I want to do down the next day and I get it out of my head before I go to bed. So I can go to bed,
Right.
I can sleep. Which, by the way, I know you run often on like 3 hours of sleep. You're not a big sleeper. So
Four
I'm a
hours and
big
20 minutes.
sleeper.
But yeah.
I'm like, I like my like 8 to 10 hours. So it's like it's gotta go up and I'm in bed at like 9 and I'm such an old
Right.
lady at that. So real estate agents are notorious for sacrificing their family
Mm,
and their self
yeah.
to build their business. And I'm sure we see, I can't speak to people in car sales or automotive dealerships, but I'm guessing it's very similar. It's like
Oh yeah.
maybe the next deal, maybe the next deal. Oh, the next deal's just around the corner. So taking what you've learned for the 7 week cycle, and let's actually take that all the way down to the 7 day cycle. And let's
Mhm.
just get people thinking 1 day off. 1 day off. It's amazing how many people in sales, service, real estate, such don't even take a single day off without answering calls. And they're
Right.
so, and if you're answering a call, folks, you are still, your head's still in the game. You're
That's
not
right.
resting.
You're
So
still working. That's right.
you're still working. So can we take what you've learned around the 7 week cycle and break that down to maybe give people 1 day a week that they can actually, so give us some kind of tips or psychology around how to let go and how to get into that 1 day a week.
Well, for me, because and I'm assuming a bunch of your listeners are, I know you're a high performer, right? And as a high performer, I am always on the lookout for strategies that are going to make me more efficient. And so for me, what I've had to do over the years is I just, as I study, you see the same pattern in all high performers. There's a pattern of restoration that is required in order for high performers to be successful, right? So let's use professional sports. There's a reason that the NFL plays 18 games a year and then takes 3 months off. Professional baseball, there's a reason they run 9 months a year, not 12 months a year. There's a reason that the pitcher only pitches every 5 games and rests in between, right? Basketball, like any sport that you can think of, they don't play 365 days a year. They don't. And there's off seasons for a reason, so that their muscles can grow, so they can get stronger, so that they can restore, so they can be more efficient in the sprint. A runner doesn't run a 100-meter dash every day, right? A marathon runner doesn't run a marathon every day, right? We train and we train in spurts. And so when I study high performers, very successful businesses, look at Chick-fil-A. Chick-fil-A is one of the most successful fast food restaurants in the history of the world. What do? They close every single Sunday, and it's a shutdown, like across the board, all employee. You can't get a hold of nobody. You won't see anybody in a Chick-fil-A fixing a fountain machine. Like, they're shut down, right? And so what I had to do mentally, and what I challenge you guys to do, is if you really truly want to be successful, don't reinvent the wheel. Let's learn from success that already exists, success of other peak performers. And the reality of the situation is there are periods of shutdown, rest, and restoration consistently that allow the muscles to develop to become the best versions of ourselves that we can be.
And when we show up as the best versions of ourselves, we give permission to others to
No
show up
doubt.
likewise. Um, let's talk real quick about community. I would love to know your definition of community and why.
My definition of community and why should we have community? Is that what you're asking? Or why do I
It's
define it that way?
however you want. This is your question. Definition, community, and why.
So community, my definition of community is the people that you do life with. Um, I have different stages and levels of community, right? Like, I have a very tight knit community at the top, very small circle of friends and family members that I do life with. And these are people that inspire me, that challenge me, that give me feedback when I need it, humble me when I need it, and celebrate me. And then there are other rings and layers of community, like our online community that continue to grow and expand, and the automotive community that we continue to grow and expand. But ultimately, they are the people that I do life with every day on some level or another. The reason I think this is incredibly important, I think community, and I'm sure in some circles it is a buzzword. Like if you look over in the crypto world, the NFT world, which is a wild world right now. But if you look over there, the word community is used everywhere. Every company in that space understands that community is required in order to increase the overall net value of a project. You have to have community. And so, what we've done with our company is we don't just deliver strategies, we don't just educate. As I said at the very beginning of this call, we bring people together, equip them with the tools they need to succeed, and inspire them to be the best versions of themselves that they can possibly be. And so we build community for that reason. And ultimately, through building community, why it's so important is people will always forget what you said. People will always forget what you did, but they will never forget how you made them feel. And we all want to feel seen, heard, and significant. And community is powerful in doing that.
Being seen in today's world when what is that? I saw a great saying the other day, with so much information, we're missing wisdom. With so much visibility, nobody's being seen. So be the person that makes that difference. Um, I real quickly want to touch because I always want to give somebody, I want to give people something they can read or
Yeah,
utilize every week. So tell us a little bit about the Morning Five, your book. And I noticed online you'll like email it for free to people. This is
totally.
crazy. So walk me through a little bit what we can expect from the Morning Five and why you're giving it away.
Yeah. So again, I know I'm a simple person. I repeat myself often. The When I studied successful people, I found that all highly successful top performers have a powerful morning routine, something that taps into mind, body, and spirit that they do consistently every single day. And so I discovered over years a powerful morning routine that works for me, a very, very, very simple one that I call the morning five. It's just five simple steps that you do every single morning. And applying those in my life helped lead me to what I now call an extraordinary life. I am blessed to live an extraordinary life. And so we've taught tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of people how to apply these five simple steps in their lives. And that's where this book came from, is at some point along the line, they were like, Glenn, you gotta write it into a book so we can distribute it. I'm like, okay, got it. So we created the book, and it's free. You can read it in less than an hour. It's very short read. There is an Audible version if you would like that, and it does a couple things. A, it breaks down the five simple steps to an extraordinary life. B, it tells you a little bit of my story so that you and I can get to know each other even better. And that's why we do it for free. Is I believe in the law of reciprocity. So if I can give you a tool that you can use in your life and you can get to know me in the process, then ultimately, if you feel that energetic connection, my hope is that you'll connect back with me and we can then start to establish some sort of relationship, whatever level that looks like. So that's what you're going to get. Morning5.com, themorning5.com. Download the free ebook and apply it, and hopefully it gets results for you as well.
Excellent. And that morning routine is important. Absolutely. I know that 2 years ago, my husband joined a men's group that really focuses on serving men in where they are at and moving forward. Because I mean, we have lots of women's groups, we have lots of these things, but there's it seems that a lot of our men are kind of they don't have community outside of hopefully what they have in their family, and then everybody relies on them, right?
Mhm.
So there's a
Sure.
there's a huge weight there for a lot of men. But I noticed that my husband will do. They have morning check-ins on video. They and these are gratitude check-ins,
That's
like
right.
and it's I've seen such a shift in him since he started
Mm,
doing this over the last 2 years, that our relationship is better,
I
right?
love that. Yeah,
So when you do that, it's your relationships, I think, get better when your relationship with yourself gets better.
no doubt. No doubt.
So, Glenn, tell us, where can people find you and follow you?
Yeah, so I'm everywhere. Wherever I'll meet you where you're at. So if you prefer to be if you're an Instagram fan, you can find me there. If you're a TikTok fan, you can find me there. You like Facebook, find me there. Just search my name, Glenn Lundy. I don't know what it is, but apparently I'm like the only brown-skinned Glenn Lundy on the face of the planet that cares at all about social media. So I'm pretty easy to find on whatever platform you prefer and you like. Let's connect there, get to know each other, and of course download that ebook, and we can go from there.
And for those of you listening, that is Glenn with two N's. So make sure you find him. His YouTube channel is really awesome. I mean, you've got on your GM3X, you've got what, 100 or 1,083, 1,085, something like that, videos already.
Yeah,
In
today
like,
today today was episode 1099. Tomorrow will be our
wow.
1100th episode.
Wow. And how long have you been doing this? For those who are just entering, so the podcast world is estimated to be a $94.88 billion industry by 2028. There's a lot of
Yeah.
people who are moving into this space. How do you like, how often are you dropping? How long did it take you to build up to this point? Out of curiosity.
Yeah, so I've been doing 5 episodes a week. So I do it at 5:30 a.m. live, Monday through Friday, and I have been doing 5 episodes a week since January 6th of 2018. So we're going into year 5. There was a 6-month stretch. I took 6 months off it. So episode 1000 was November 5th of last year, my daughter's birthday, and we had a live event celebrating episode 1000. And I was like, do I want to do 1001? Because if I do 1001, I know how I am. I now have to go to 2500 because I
Yeah.
can't just do another 1,000. I've already done that. I do another 1,500. So it's a 6.5 year commitment. So I took a break to make sure that it's still aligned with my family, my core values, all of the things that we're doing in my life. And the answer is a profound and astounding yes. I am a better person when I do that show every day. And so Monday through Friday, 5:30 a.m., episode 1100 coming at you, and another 1,400 to go.
Remember, folks, when you're looking up all the time, do pause and take a look down how far you have already come. So, on that note, give us a quote. What is a quote that inspires you that we can share with people today?
Yeah, you take yourself wherever you go. It's one of my favorite quotes. You take yourself wherever you go. And mentor of mine told me this when I was like 20 years old. I'm not sure exactly where he extracted it, but I didn't know what it meant for about a decade. I really didn't understand it. And without going long into the story, I had a season of homelessness, depression, suicidal thoughts, and ultimately attempted to take my own life. And I was plucked out of the ocean, yeah, thankfully. And in that moment, just after attempting to take my own life, those words came through. You take yourself wherever you go. And in that moment, I looked back and I reflected at every aspect of my life. And I noticed that though I lived in different cities and though I was always around different people, the buildings I was in were different, the time of year, the seasons, all were different. But one thing consistently was the same, and it was me. I was the catalyst of all things negative in my life. And I'd been blaming everyone else for all the things. Blame the economy, blame the president, blame my skin color. Like I had all kinds of things to blame. And in that moment, I realized, wait a minute, you take yourself wherever you go. We are the catalyst of the results. And in that moment, I thought, well, if I'm the catalyst of all things negative in my life, does that mean that I can be a catalyst for good things in my life? And so that question spawned the journey, which has led me to where I am today with my beautiful daughter, Meredith, walking up right now.
Hello, Meredith.
Which has led me to the journey on today. And so I like to share that with everybody is, hey, you take yourself wherever you go. Everything you want in life is not on the outside, it's on the inside. So do the work, figure out who you are and whose you are, and the rest will come together.
I can't top that, folks. That is such a great way to close this out. I want to thank everybody for sharing their time, because I know that your most valuable resource, your non-renewable resource that you have every day is your time, and gifting us with your time is incredible. Be sure to like, subscribe, comment, and share this podcast. Join our Facebook real estate group, Success with 500 Doors, because behind every door is an opportunity to serve. I'm Kim Hayden, your host here at the 500 Doors podcast. Oh, and by the way, remember, be the change you want to see.
Thank you for joining us at the 500 Doors, your real estate podcast. Be sure to join our Facebook group at Real Estate Success with 500 Doors. Keep on watching, and don't forget to like, subscribe, comment, and share, because we all know sharing is caring.